All right, so last year this time, maybe to the day, I asked, does anybody know what this month is? Does anybody know what the significance of the month of February is? Heart month, right. Yeah. And so why not talk about heart health? But as I said last year, for those of you who were here, every class we have revolves around heart health, right? That's just eating well is going to also equal doing things that work towards supporting better heart health, right? So I chose this meal right here. I want to talk about some other things. There's actually some questions I want to ask you all. You don't have to say the answer out loud, but just think about it. They talk about ways that you can think about on a daily basis how to reduce your risk for heart disease. And there's some ways, as you'll see, that the factors that contribute to heart disease, some you can control, some you can't. You can't control whether you're a male or a female, right? But you can control other risk factors like how much you weigh or how high your cholesterol levels are, etc. So we'll talk about those a little bit and go into detail a bit, and then have this dish because it supports heart health. And I'll talk about, like I did last week, modifying, the importance of recipe modification. I spent a lot of time looking for a good salmon cake recipe. And there are, I swear there's got to be 1,000 or more out there. But this one really appealed to me because of the ingredients that are in it. I think you've got the recipe there. It appealed to me, stood out most. So I thought, how can I make it work for today? And I'm hoping I can. And I'll talk about what I did a little bit differently to make it an even better presentation of what the recipe says, right? And again, I modified it, but not in dramatic ways. The key ingredients are all still there except for 1 or 2. All right, so think about this as we go through the list, as we go through the questions. Are you good to your heart? Okay, back to risk factors. A lot of them are controllable. Some of them aren't. Family history, gender, race. What are some others that might not be controllable? Don't know. I don't know if they're age, right, age. Can't help how old you are. But the others that are controllable, what do you think they are? What are some things you could do to support better heart health for yourself? Sodium intake, blood pressure. Yep. Protein intake. More protein instead of like fatty foods, and yeah, I mean you could say that. Yep. If you're replacing with real high fatty foods, you could say that. But a little bit, maybe more toward like what about weight? Weight management, right? Whether you're overweight or not, that's going to help. The closer you are to a healthy weight, the more you're going to reduce your risks for heart health. What are some other things that we focus on in this class every single week? Cooking, right? How you prepare your foods, what you use to prepare them in. Cooking in olive oil versus bacon fat or lard or something, right? What about physical activity? Physical activity is also going to contribute. So all of the components of this class on a weekly basis directly support heart health. All right, so here's some questions. Do you smoke? And again, you don't have to answer out loud. Do you smoke or do you know someone who smokes? Okay, right. If you do, this is something to consider, and I'm going to give this information out to you afterwards. Something to consider is that when you smoke, you double your risk of heart disease. And secondhand smoke, the people around you, are at greater risk for heart disease as well. Maybe not double, but as if they were the smoker. But it increases their risk, so that's something to consider. Right? So if heart disease runs in your family, or you know that you have the early signs of it, or that you are at greater risk, smoking is something you can control. You can try to cut back and aim toward quitting. That's going to be that's like one of the biggest ways of reducing your risk. Heart disease, by the way, and why it's so important to talk about heart health, is the leading cause of illness and death in the United States. It's now above cancer. So it's something to think about. Not something to scare you with, but it's something to think about, and then, you know, go back to the principles that we cover in here regularly. Do you eat at least 5 servings of vegetables and fruit a day? Yeah. Many people don't, but that's a way to decrease your risk factors, right? It's a way to keep your weight in check. It's a way to consume a lot, you know, calories during the day that are not, or foods that are not high in calories. It's a way to eat foods that are nutrient dense, that directly contribute toward lowering your blood pressure, right? So eating more fruits and vegetables when you can is an excellent idea. And it helps, again, it helps lower blood pressure. And the lower the calories, and when you snack on fruits and vegetables like we do in here, or the meal, you know, some component of the meal includes vegetables and fruits, you are decreasing the number of foods that are higher in sodium. Bringing your blood pressure down is going to lower your risk for heart disease. I'm going to just say that over and over again. What about, do you eat a variety of whole grains? Do you eat a variety of them? Are you making, if the answer is no, then you might think about increasing your whole grains. Whole grains also contribute to, right? Whole grains. The more you choose the whole, right? You've heard this 100 times before. Make half your grains whole. Why not? Why not? Because if you know that you're also decreasing your heart risk disease, why not do it, right? It also, because they're high in fiber, makes less room for other foods that may be contributing to heart disease, right? They keep you fuller, longer, so less of them. Like if you have a bowl of brown rice, that's going to last with you longer than a bowl of white rice. So, and you might want less of it. How about, do you eat fish at least a couple of times a week? Do you? Who does? Once a week? Okay, all right. You might think about doing it twice a week. Salmon's one of those good ones. The cold water fatty fishes like, and again, remember I said fatty, that doesn't make it bad because it's got the good kind of fat in it. And salmon and mackerel and lake trout and herring and albacore tuna, they're all, there's my New England coming out. They're high in omega-3s, and omega-3s have been shown to contribute toward heart health, help prevent heart disease. So there's a reason to do that, right? It's also taking you away from the other meats that might be fattier in saturated fats and so forth. What about, do you eat fat-free or low-fat dairy products? No. Is that something? How come? How come? It's a good idea. Remember last week we had grilled cheese sandwiches with, okay, so if you eat dairy, as we saw last week, low-fat cheese still melts and is gooey and pulls and is high in taste in most every variety. If you are making choices, you're thinking, how can I reduce my chances or my risk factors, or chances of getting heart disease, developing heart disease, or high blood pressure, or anything related to heart health. Any of these things are going to be a good idea. The combination of all of them are going to be a great idea. So low fat, switching from whole milk to 1% milk is an excellent idea. Something to consider. If you can't do skim, that's fine. A lot of people can't. 1%'s my limit. But if you like skim, please do skim, because that's even a little bit better. But certainly if you're drinking whole milk on a daily basis, then it's a good idea to go down to 2% and then down to 1%. Something you won't notice in a short amount of time. Do you drink alcohol more than an average of 1 drink a day for women or 2 drinks a day for a man? If the answer is yes, then it's something to consider this, that alcohol contributes to heart failure, alcohol contributes to higher rates of obesity, alcohol contributes to a lot of different conditions, but as it pertains to heart health, it can contribute to heart failure. And I know no one in this room is looking for that. So think about alcohol, and the limit is, the recommended amount is 1 drink per day for a woman and 2 drinks per day for a man. And now certainly we've all heard by now that red wine is healthful, and it's recommended in a lot of patterns of eating in other places around the world, including here. Red wine in particular has beneficial effects. That said, if you don't drink, it's not a good idea to start drinking because a glass of red wine will be helpful, right? It's just that, right? So you want to keep that in mind. Yeah. So if you have more than that, maybe think about cutting back a little bit. Okay. Do you eat foods that are high in soluble fiber, like oats, apples, citrus, fruits, and beans? Sometimes. Yep. It's a good thing to do. It's a good thing to do. Soluble fibers help lower your cholesterol. Cholesterol limits that are within normal limits, right? I can go through that. I'm going to save the time. I'm not going to go through all the numbers right now. But keeping your cholesterol in check, and I'm sure you've all had the conversation with your doctor, is very important, just like keeping your blood pressure. So eating foods that are high in fiber, soluble and insoluble, is a way to do that. But the soluble in particular is going to help with your cholesterol. Do you exercise at least 3 times a week? Yes. That's a good thing. If you exercise 3 times a week, think about exercising 4 or 5 or 6. But 3 times a week is great. And if and remember that every little bit you do counts. Every teeny tiny bit of exercise you do counts. If you currently take 1 flight of stairs per day, think about taking 2. If you currently walk around the block 2 times a day, think about walking 3 or 4, and etc. If you don't do any walks, if you don't go to the mailbox, maybe stop on your way home and going up your driveway instead of stopping at the mailbox and reaching out and irritating your shoulder as you're trying to get it and somebody stopping behind you. Go ahead and park and then go down to the mailbox. Right? That's just a point to illustrate that anything you do is going to be an increase in activity, and it's going to help, and that's going to help with your heart. Yeah, all right. They're looking good up here. They're getting crispy. Okay. All right, 2 more questions. Do you eat lots of processed foods, cook with salt, or add salt at the table? Yeah, about 50, or most people eat about 50% of their meals outside of the home. So probably, that's an answer a lot of people are going to say yes to. The more you can cook at home, the more you can control your sodium intake. And the more you can control all the other stuff that's in that food, including calories. And it doesn't mean you can't eat well at fast food restaurants. It does not mean that. It's just you need to be a little bit more thoughtful about your choices. But in any case, cutting back on foods that you're eating out at home, especially the ones that are processed, or adding salt at the table, by minimizing that, you're going to help with your blood pressure and overall intake of sodium will go down. Lastly, do you eat meatless meals? Good, good. I try to do that as often as I can in here, provide foods that don't include meat. That is an excellent way to minimize, because when you're not to minimize your risk factors for heart disease, when you're not eating meat, hopefully you're replacing that with lentils or beans or some kind of whole grain, some kind of legume, or a bowl of soup or something, and whole grains and vegetables, all of the foods that support heart health, all of the foods that support healthy weight. And that's what the goal is in here, right? The overarching goal in here is for weight loss and weight management. So that's what I would ask you to do. Just think about those questions. Think about how you would rate yourself currently, and think about what you could do differently to just improve. Choose one thing to start with, or take them all at once and just make little adjustments along the way. Over time, that's going to add up. So, all right, that's it for that. Here's some handouts, excuse me. There's front and back. There's another handout on the back of that, the topic I was just covering that I really liked, that I'd like you to take into consideration too. All right, so what I've got here is salmon cakes. The reason I liked the recipe is because I had the thought that a lot of people probably keep these hash brown potatoes either in the fridge or in the freezer. Is that true? Mm-hmm. Okay. So here's something to do with them. I've actually never cooked with them before, but it makes sense. You could also, of course, if you have a potato in your pantry, peel it, grate it, and let it just put a tiny bit of salt on it and let the liquid come out, and then use it here. You can do that same thing, so you don't have to buy these potatoes. But they were really inexpensive, and they are readily available. You can keep them in the fridge or the freezer. I got the refrigerator kind because I wasn't sure how to work with the frozen. So I got the refrigerated kind. And then canned salmon. That's an easy thing to forget that exists in the grocery store, because we're so used to buying tuna fish if you like tuna or salmon. But canned salmon is a really good, inexpensive way of getting the goodness from salmon, a fish that supports heart health, right? And do you need to do some turning?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Do you want just the finish one? Not the cutting.
Excuse me.
You can just put them on the cutting board.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yep, thank you. So canned salmon is available in every store, every brand, every store. You can get it with bones or without bones. You can get it skinless, boneless, whatever you want, whatever is easiest for you. If the bones are included in the salmon, and they're soft, so it's not like you're going to get like a chicken bone or something. They're very soft. Then that salmon is going to have a higher calcium count. So just know that ahead of time. Higher calcium count. Yeah. Yep. So fish with the bones, like sardines and other fish that have those soft bones in them that have been canned, they're going to be a little bit higher in calcium. Yeah. But if that's not the goal, and that was not my primary objective here, nor did I have the time to go through the cans to take the skin off, to take the bones out. But if you're like making a salmon chowder or something like that, you could put those big cans that are more economical too, with the bones and everything right in there. It's nice. But I got the pouches. I got 2 cans of salmon, of pink salmon, and I got 3 pouches. Pouches were on sale, and that's all they had, so I got the cans to go with it. And both of them were, free of bones and skin, which was nice, because all I had to do is crack the top or open up the pouch and pour it into the bowl. Already flaked and ready to go. And it makes for a very easy dish. And then what I did different to the recipe was I added a little bit of cornflake crumbs to give it a little bit more of a binder. I added a little extra egg for more of a binder. And I'm talking a little bit extra. And what else did I do different? I think I did everything. I used fresh, I think everything else according to the recipe. I used fresh dill, and which has a lot of flavor to it. You don't have to use dill if you had another, parsley would be fine. Dill and salmon tend to go well together, so that's why I chose that. And then The other thing I did, instead of doing whole eggs, I prefer to cook with eggs, and I always have eggs on hand. But I also always have some of the liquid eggs on hand, just in case I need them. And for the purposes of today, I can't even tell you how handy that came in. Right? From having to put gloves on and having raw eggs and cracking them and all of that, and again, time was a big factor, to just the ease of being able to measure it out. Right? So I did that. And how many of you use liquid eggs? I used the Harris Teeter brand, and it was, I think, like $2 for a container this big. Does anybody use them? Yeah, you use them. Yeah, you like them. They don't have any cholesterol, and they're good. All right. And then the sauce. The sauce talks about, let's see, it calls for reduced fat sour cream. And I use that sometimes in here, and I like it. There are certain brands that I like better than others. But as we've discovered, so does plain Greek yogurt take the place of sour cream. When there is an alternative to something, and this is what I ask you to think about, when there is an alternative that is in most ways nearly identical, it just makes sense to use it, because it's yet another way to cut back somewhere, to reduce your risk factors somewhere throughout the day. So that's the perfect example. Yogurt instead of sour cream, right? And sometimes when you do that, you can have even, a little bit more. So that will change the profile of the nutrition information there, because I use the yogurt and because I use the liquid egg. So the cholesterol level is going to be different. Saturated fat's going to be different. The calories are going to be different, all in a good way. So, excuse me. Yeah, these look really nice. All right. These are, okay, so back to the sauce.
No. What is that in that little capers?
They're capers. So back to the, so back to the sauce. Back to the sauce, we've got capers here, which have a nice real briny, salty taste to them, right? And they're packed in a brine. And you'll notice when you look on the label that the sodium content will be high, but it's because they're including the liquid that they come in. So on some labels with the capers, it'll say drained, and the level of sodium goes down to less than a third of what it is with that liquid. So if ever you're looking, and I hope you're looking at the labels, know that about things that are packed in brine like that. You're going to be draining it anyway, so you're going to be reducing. So use those foods that are strong like that as a flavor. And then the rest of the fresh dill is in here. So that should make, and some lemon. That should make for a nice sauce. This is fairly thick, which is fine, but I think I'm going to taste it. Did you already put the lemon in? Mm-hmm. Or no?
That's just extra.
That's extra lemon, okay. No, I would say if you put lemon in, it could make it too lemony. I'm going to add, if I had milk, I would put a little milk in here. Why not? But I think I'll put a little water in it. Just a little bit, just to thin it out. You never know there's water in it, but it will make it a little bit thinner. And then maybe add some more lemon, or maybe add some more yogurt, and just until the taste gets right. So let's add the capers. Chop them a little bit more. Kay made me promise that I would do something very simple today. I didn't. I thought it was simple as I was thinking about it.
So what are the ingredients in the sauce? Because it's not separated here, so we can't tell.
Right, you can't tell. The ingredients in the sauce: yogurt, dill, lemon, capers. The last 4 ingredients there on that recipe.
The lemon.
The lemon juice, the capers, the yogurt or the sour cream, and the dill.
Oh, and dill.
Yep.
Okay.
If you want to use with the canola, that's fine.
I'm sorry.
If you want to use the canola, that's fine. All right.
Ran out of this one.
Okay, that's fine. So we just ran out of olive oil, but we have backup canola oil. It's the difference. They're both heart healthy. That's why I always have them both on hand, right? Because one can replace the other. Let's see. All right, so I'm adding and just like last week, remember I put the onions in before I coated them with the flour, and just like, I mean, this is just real at-home cooking. Sauce is a little too thick, so I'm going to thin it out. And it's not going to change it. It's not going to change it for the worse anyway, right? And I'm still going to add just a little more. Remember, when you're doing things like this, go low, slow and low. Because if you add too much water at once, then it's going to be impossible to get it out. You have to just keep adding more and more and more and more of the other ingredients. And if you don't have more of the other ingredients, then what to do? Okay. So let me taste that sauce and see if it can benefit from. Yes, question. What's that? Oh, is that a question for everybody? Okay. All right. Does anybody have any feedback, any questions, anything you want to talk about while we're trying to put this together? All right, definitely no more lemon. And needs some salt is what it needs. You know what else it could use is a little pinch of sugar. And I don't think I have a pinch of sugar. When something's real tangy, I think we did this last week, when something's real tangy, you can add sugar. This will go nicely with the salmon cakes, so. All right, so how many people are we serving? Okay, 19. So if we cut these in half, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, let's just cut these in half. Excuse me, where are the gloves? Does everybody want to taste the salmon cake? Okay. Does anybody make salmon cakes? Yes? Yeah? Do you use canned or fresh? Canned.
Yeah, but I think it's beautiful.
Yes, sir. All right. Yep. All right, so when you're cooking these on your own, you can make them more crispy if you want. You want to be careful about the amount of oil that you put in the pan, and whatever oil you are using, try to keep it heart friendly. And the addition of the corn flakes really works with these. And a couple more eggs, because they're delicate. All right, here. If you bring that tray over here, there's a spoon right there. And how about so we got.
You want the tray over here? She just found one.
Just like that should be.
So about.
Yeah, I would say no more than that. Yep. All right. And okay. Does everybody want the sauce on their cake? You do too. Nice. Right. Okay. Anybody who doesn't want the sauce with dill, I got a little backup ketchup. I was thinking about you all. I'm nice that way. All right. What's that? 2 no sauce. Ketchup instead? Do you want ketchup instead?
Yeah, sure. I want to.
Did anybody else make that tomato soup that we had last week? Because a number of you said that you were.
You drank the water.
Let me taste this. One thing I wanted to point out about the grapes. Everybody got some grapes on the plate today. One, because you know I like adding fruit to whatever we eat. Also, grapes are $1.29 right now per pound. So those, I had 2 huge bags of grapes that cost, I think they were $4. Look for fruits that are on sale. Remember what this meal is about. Remember what today's topic is covering. It's covering heart health. So as you eat these things, as you open your open your mind up to new foods, these things work.
I want to ask her a question. Don't be scared.
What?
Tart. I think it was just a little bit too tart.
The sauce is tart? Yeah. The sauce could, if I had had sugar.
Might have been the
I've got sugar. So look at, so the sauce is tart. It's because of the yogurt. I do have sugar. I could have put a couple of pinches of sugar in that, and that would help. So if you want to do the yogurt, add a little sugar. Thanks for coming, everyone.